This is a difficult one because it's insufferable, and also there's too much material for me to really go over. You guys know the Nelk Boys or Full Send podcast? I only learned about them from when the small round one went on the Adam Friedland show. They're just another like bro comedy right wing podcast. They hosted Trump a few times. You know, it's in the same sphere, I guess, as Fresh and Fit, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn. Right? I'm flattening the disc a little bit here, but fundamentally we're talking about the same general crowd. A lot of overlap. They had Netanyahu on. Now, I'm not going to bury the lead on this one. Apparently, oh, good Lord, look at that like to dislike ratio. Woo! You've run kind of like into a negative overlap here because, you know, as much as there might be a right-wing disposition in these podcasts, as it turns out, a lot of like young, angry, misogynistic 18-year-old children do not want to die for Israel. Not a good overlap, you know. It's mostly like old boomer neocon types who are in for that. Why did Netanyahu agree to this? You've got it all wrong. See, Netanyahu didn't agree to this. The Nelk Boys did. Apparently, what I heard, and you're free to fact check me on this if I'm wrong, this whole thing was set up by the White House. They've got White House contacts. They've had Trump on, you know? Netanyahu wanted to come on because he's trying a new, you know, effort at propagandizing to probably shore up the fact that nobody within this age group likes him. It's been talked about quite a bit. This came out just 4 hours ago. Nelk Boys admits questions scripted by Israel. The questions list, it was pre-agreed upon. So you have some like comedy good old boys who are essentially receiving scripts and a foreign genocidal, you know, war criminal to just kind of, it's historical stuff, really.
This is probably a good segue to our Nelk Boys segment because that is a watershed cultural moment for the future of the country and for a lot of these people who did vote for Donald Trump. Put Nelk the guys out of it. I'm talking about young people. Remember, young men specifically broke hard for Trump in the 2024 election. Now, will they come?
Well, closer to 50-50, but more hard than you'd expect.
Come out to vote again? Nobody knows. All right, I think so. Especially people, especially age, they gain some, you know, grasp in society. They start to, and I think this Nelk Boys moment is a very important one for, I think, both in the Israel conversation, but really politically and media-wise as well. Yeah. So it's been. Well, let's transition here now. The Nelk Boys continue to talk both about the details of their interview.
They did damage control, and after the and the pro-Palestine people they talked to after Netanyahu were Fresh and Fit Hasan and Nick Fuentes. I see. Okay, so it went. All right, it's going well then. What's a milk boy? Nelk boy. But I don't know what it is either. Polling is the devil, but yeah, Trump is deeply underwater with the young people. I've seen some far-right people say this is because young men are so far-right that they're disappointed with Trump being cucked on and not being far-right enough on immigration or Israel or whatever, but that doesn't seem to be the case if you look at the sub-issue polling breakdown, right? It seems like a lot of young people just kind of wanted change, and Trump has not offered change, at least not change for the good. Anyway, yeah, the whole thing was screened ahead of time. You can get kind of a taste of the tone. Somebody just linked this, but this is like the gist of the interview, okay? The whole thing is a carefully scripted propaganda effort by Netanyahu, representing Israel, to try to win back a demographic that has, for the most part, come to despise Israel and everything that it represents. Israel in America represents moral Puritan browbeating, where every criticism you issue of them, from the fact that they hoover up our money, to the fact that they're killing, you know, lots and lots of innocent people, to the fact that they're, in many cases, the Zionists, annoying, right? Their only response to it is to browbeat you, to call you anti-Semitic, and to demand that you be deported, right? Like it's not exactly like a cool crowd. Very uncool, very dictatorial. But in spite of that,
you have a business right now?
Mm-hmm.
Are you regulated?
Yes.
You are? Why are you regulated? You're regulated? By what? You should have the freedom to say whatever you want, to talk whatever you want. I didn't realize there's regulation on podcasts.
So what he's trying to do here is appeal to the bias towards perceived freedom of speech. Anyone who likes the Nelk Boys, likes the Full Send podcast, would like the idea of just getting to say whatever you want with no one stepping on you, man. The problem being, of course, that Israel has state censors. There are people who are currently facing legal charges for reporting on the war in Gaza in Israel. If you are a journalist in Israel, if you publish something that looks bad to the government, they can bring you to court over it. They have far less free speech than we do. They literally have. Remember at the very beginning of the conflict, right after October 7th, there were videos of people who were getting arrested because, like, they had one woman had like a WhatsApp status message that was interpreted by the government as being pro-Hamas. So they showed up in military gear to arrest her. Not to mention, you know, all the journalists they've killed. Well, anyway, let's give it a look. Woo, yeah.
Not the most thing about this. We're just not. We just should not be doing this.
That's
Well,
true.
we're too far too gone.
Here we have the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
We'll do everybody.
This is what sets off podcasts. You could put a small microphone here, but no, you have to see this thing, right?
Yeah, Prime Minister Netanyahu with us today. We're here in the Blair House.
Yep.
Right? Is this the White House grounds?
Close.
Close.
It's the sort of the official guest house of the United States.
How have you seen like the
Very authentic, very like very independent, very just a bunch of comedy boys, you know, going over to like essentially the White House to interview a foreign prime minister, the scripted interview? Yeah.
White House and stuff? Like, how has it evolved over the years, over the times of you visiting it?
I've met quite a few of the American presidents because I've been in office pretty long time. Not because we don't have elections, but because I've won quite a few of them, okay? I think there's never been a friend like Donald Trump in the White House for Israel. I think he's a remarkable leader. I think he's changing history. He said he'll make America great again. He's already done it. You know, America is widely admired now around the world, and especially after our joint operation against this regime that wanted to, chants death to America, death to Israel. Well, I think
Kind of acting a bit desperate, don't you think? Like, obviously, the only reason he's here is to try to salvage a bit of reputation with a certain demographic of people. So for him to open like this, so obviously, like, you know, drooling tongue out, please God, like me. I like Trump. You like Trump, right? We all like Trump here, you know?
together we've shown the world a different face of America. Very powerful, very directed, very resolute.
You guys are very tight, right? Would you call it a bromance?
Well, you might. I mean, we've known each other several decades, and I really like him.
What do you like most about him?
You know, if you meet him close up, and Sarah and I have had this opportunity many times, including last night in a great dinner we had at the White House. First of all, Donald Trump can be very funny.
Of course.
Nothing this audience loves more, nothing they love more than the deep level of collusion between Netanyahu and Trump. The fact that there's just so much like Netanyahu, yeah, he's over like in 3 months out of the year, you know? That's just interesting. It's like they don't understand, or like he doesn't understand, you know, why people in this demographic might hate him. And by the way, I don't think the average viewer of the Full Send podcast would dislike Netanyahu for the genocide, you know, because a lot of the people who watch this podcast voted for Trump. I think they dislike him because of the censorious browbeating. I think they dislike him because Zionism in America is heavily associated with tone policing, with demands of fealty, in everything, in essence, everything that comedians hate. Right? Zionism, to an extent, at least as it expresses itself in America right now in this day and age, is the death of comedy, because everybody who represents it, you know, they understand every joke at their expense as like a critical threat to their settler colonial project. They don't allow for comedy. Even Trump allows for comedy at his expense, but there's like a particular inflection to the way Zionists engage in their, like, look at what Mamdani had to deal with, man. It's never even like a direct confrontation, right? It's always like, well, why did you say this? Why don't you say this? How do you feel about this? Don't you think that, like, it's never, you know what I mean? Browbeating, bop, with the newspaper, you know? They don't try to change anyone's minds, is what I mean.
Of course.
He can be very funny.
Especially off camera, right?
He can, absolutely. He can split you sort of sit there and you start guffawing because it's so funny. And also, I'll tell you something else. That Sarah, who's a psychologist, and she, psychologists, You know,
Of
psychologists,
course.
they look at people.
Hmm.
They identify very quickly with that. You know what she said to me about Donald Trump? She said he's a good person. He has a good heart.
That's great.
He wants to do good. And that is something that I think that you have to know him well to appreciate it. And the last thing I tell you about him, okay? I mean, I could tell you many things, but he cuts to the chase. You know, he cuts through the BS. You have to spell out what BS is. He cuts through the BS. He goes right to the point, to the heart of the matter. And sometimes he says things that get right to the things that people don't want to really think through. And he cuts to the bone. And that is an amazing quality because it lets you focus on the things that are important. So
This is pathetic. Yeah, but it does kind of remind you that Israel doesn't control America, right? That it's like a tumor off America. It's a mutually, what do they call it? When two parasites feed off each other, what do they call it? I'm blanking on the term here. Symbiotic. That's right. Yeah, symbiotic relationship. You know, they both exist at each other's benefit, at least with respect to some things like MIC profits.
It's been an incredible partnership, both personally, but also for our two nations.
Did you have any type of relationship with Biden?
Not the same. I've known Biden for, 40 years? Almost as long. Well, both of them. Over the decades, it was a different relationship. It was a friendship, but also it evolved into, how shall I say this? Severe disagreements.
About?
And with Donald Trump, we've had powerful agreements. And when there's no daylight between an American president and an Israeli prime minister, amazing things can happen.
Just incredible knowledge of why the people on this podcast dislike Netanyahu. He's literally like, no. You should like Trump because he and I are so close. The thing about Trump and I, we get along on everything. There's no difference between us. Amazing things are happening because of our unprecedented level of cooperation. It's like he doesn't understand that the best way for him to sell himself to this crowd would be to downplay the degree to which he sits in the lap of American power, and to instead talk about Israel as like a separate entity where Israel and America benefit each other in like a quid pro quo kind of way. That would sell way better to this audience. Not necessarily to the interviewers, because the interviewers are paid off, right? They're literally, I mean, this whole thing is a setup. To the audience, like, this only reaffirms everything negative they're feeling about Trump. It's possible that disillusionment in Trump from young right-wing people might be to an extent because of Israel, right? Because it is kind of difficult to believe that Trump is some sort of like, deep state defying Ubermensch when he gets in and like immediately starts doing all the same shit with Israel that his predecessor did.
Like our common enemies who chant death to Israel, death to America, and want to develop atomic bombs and the means to deliver them to this city and to every part of America. All of a sudden, they're not so intimidating. All of a sudden, we can defeat them. All of a sudden, you can use these brave American pilots who come from around the world, drop it right over the bunker, and help us end the amazing feats of our soldiers and pilots. That's an amazing thing. It's good for America. It's good for the security of every single American.
How do you feel about the Americans' opinion on Israel right now?
Well, look, I think the broad segments of the American public support Israel, but I'm concerned that the young people in America, some of them are getting the wrong picture of Israel,
Being a little bit too straightforward with your intentions here, right? I feel like if you're coming here and you're trying to like sway people to convince them that you're not just like a deep state leech on American tax dollars engaging in genocide, you don't want to play into the idea you're doing this cynically for cynical reasons. I don't know.
Demonization. You can feed them a lot of lies. So the only way you can fight lies is with the truth. How do you fight lies? You tell the truth. And you have to tell it as often and as intensely as the lies that are leveled against you.
Okay.
And that requires an effort. It's like another battlefield, you know? And I'm doing this podcast, among other things, to reach young people.
Of course.
You guys are pretty young. I mean,
30 years old.
30.
30.
That's young.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest misconceptions are about Israel?
Well, first of all, they don't know what kind of a an open society it is, how pluralistic. I mean, we live in the heart of the Middle East, okay? Iran is not that far away. In Iran, they hang gays by cranes. In Israel, probably Tel Aviv is one of the, the most open.
In Israel, they simply carpet bomb the gay Palestinians indiscriminately. I mean, just by numbers, the Israeli government has certainly killed more homosexuals than any Middle Eastern government has in multiple years put together, right? Like going back possibly even decades, just by the sheer number of people they've killed,
Liberal-minded city on earth. Israel is a high.
We visited there, yeah.
No, it's completely different.
Our assistant's gay too. He had a good time.
Well, you can vouch.
Yeah, no, we all had a
So,
good time.
I mean, look at that. How about women, okay? Women in Iran, they shoot the women. They shot this extraordinarily brave and beautiful woman, shot on the sidewalk because she showed too much hair. In Israel, women are...
You won't believe it. In Israel, they will actually gun down hundreds of people for running at a box full of food that the IDF has placed in the middle of a field surrounded by guns. I don't know whether or not their hair was showing. I guess it's not really relevant in the context of the interaction.
You know what women? I'll tell you what the difference is. Okay, so I had this young women officer in my military secretariat. The prime minister has military secretariat, and usually has a general and it has staff assistant.
Keeping in theme with how the IDF operates, it was probably a 19-year-old staff sergeant or something. Yeah.
It's one of the staff assistants was this young woman pilot navigator on leave from the Air Force to do this work in the prime minister's office. You know what she did now? She was flying over the skies of Tehran.
That's great.
Attacking this horrible regime that tyrannizes the women in Tehran.
Just a complete, absolute misread of what the people who watch this podcast are interested in hearing on so many levels. I mean, you know what? It is nice that as evil as he is and as successful as he's been in securing American support for his crimes, Netanyahu is every bit as out of touch and consultant brained as the politicians we have over here, right? Jesus Christ. Going on Joe Rogan and telling feel good stories about girl bosses flying planes. And who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Are you on Pod Save? This is a totally different audience. No idea. Yeah, he's used to trying to pull Democrats over. I don't think he's used to trying to pull young right-leaning people or young, I don't know what you'd call them, dissident conservative men, I'm not going to watch this whole thing, by the way. I just because I saw clips of it, and this is the theme I got over and over. First of all, the Full Send podcast for doing state propaganda for a genocidal war criminal. Secondly, Netanyahu did a terrible job. I mean, again, this is a earnest like to dislike ratio, right? I mean, that does say something. And that's not just people brigading, people in the audience didn't care for it.
That's a difference. The women there get shot on the sidewalk, and an Israeli woman pilot helps liberate Iran, quite the women of Iran. And boy, that's a big difference. And that's true of everything. It's true of nightlife. It's true of the startup nation, the incredible ingenuity and entrepreneurship, incredible freedom. Israel is a paragon of freedom in an area that doesn't exactly enjoy freedom. And to have young Americans march and support these mass...
He does not shut the up, does he? He doesn't even trust his interviewers enough to pitch him good questions, even though he knows this thing is scripted. He doesn't trust the idiots he's sitting across from, so he's like, well, I just need to ramble, basically, because I'm not going to get good rapport here.
It's people who beheaded men, who burned babies alive. I'm talking about the Hamas monsters.
Really?
Is that their ideal? They don't know nothing. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about. And I want to bring that truth to them. So Israel is a great free society.
I'll skip ahead a bit.
1,000 of these ballistic missiles, these one-ton bombs on New Jersey. So you either get destroyed.
If only.
services, ideas. You have to have the freedom to have your ideas. This is what we have in Israel. Boy, do we have it in abundance.
Oh, yeah.
But that's fine. That's what I like. I like
State censors, people being arrested for criticizing the military. Yeah.
competition. I like initiative. I like freedom. I like freedom because I think living without freedom is not worth it.
That's great.
And think of, young people are watching me now. Think that every move that you make, every decision you'd like to make is made by others. You remember? That's when you're little kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the nanny state. You have the nanny that tells you what you can do, what you can't do. Not a good idea, right?
Do they even ask questions in this? I'm genuinely or do they just sit here and affirm? Is there any actual engagement here?
Actually, paved their way to nuclear weapons. So I had a security blanket, So I, home.
You can skip to any. We saw the other guy talk.
I'm coming too.
They ask him about his favorite burger. Yeah, they ask him if he likes McDonald's or Burger King more, and he says Burger King because he's a psychopath. They ask him about Zohran. I saw that clip on Twitter as well. He says he's not happy about Zohran winning. Incredible stuff. Yeah, I'll play that clip. Why not? Then we'll see Hasan for a second.
Yeah, New York City, right? What's Zohran?
Yeah.
He's an anti-Semitic guy.
Yeah.
The highest, I think the highest population of Jews in New York City.
Really? Is that what he is? That's interesting.
How's that even possible?
Well, it's possible because a lot of people have been taken in by this nonsense. I mean, what? You want to defund the police? You want to have people go into stores and, rob them and be free? You think that really creates a good society? You want to crush all enterprise? You want to tax people to death? I mean, that's a one-term effort. But
blurring of talking points again. This is the kind of browbeating dogma that works in some environments, but here it doesn't. This is corpo shit.
Sometimes you have to get mugged by reality to understand how stupid that is. So that's silly. But, sometimes folly overtakes human affairs for a while, but not for long because reality steps in. So I'm obviously not happy with it, but I'm less concerned with it because I think if we can speak the truth to the young people of America, they wise up.
Stop being so transparent with your intentions. This moron. I love how committed he sounds when he calls Zohran Mamdani an anti-Semite. He does a really good job of not making it sound like he's just reading off a paper.
Even in New York City, right? What's Zohran?
Yeah.
He's an anti-Semitic guy.
Yeah.
The highest, I think the highest population.
Anti-Semitic guy. Yeah, okay. All right. Then they brought Hasan on. Hasan and Adam Friedland, right?
All right, so you guys interviewed the Adolf Hitler incarnate, Benjamin Netanyahu, and now everybody's yelling at you guys, I assume, right? Is that what's going on?
Yes, we're getting definitely some yells.
Yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, who the set that up? Was it Miriam Adelson?
Well, we actually toured the White House right before, and he was in D.C. So it's kind of like a
someone must have. Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't like, I love the Nelk Boys. I'm a big consumer of Happy Dad, and then was like, let's do this.
Well, we've had Trump on a few times.
Some of the communications team at the White House hit us up, connected us with their communications team, and presented us the opportunity to do it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
This is worse than Hasan's interview with the Yemeni guy. Dog, he just had a random Yemeni guy on. They had, and then pitched softball questions to a current war criminal genociding head of state with scripted questions that were fielded by the White House. It's not even remotely comparable. Like the degree to which it's incomparable is insane. And I criticized the Luffy, One Piece, Straw Hat, Houthi thing as well. I've said that as well. But Jesus Christ, you cannot compare these things at all.
And you guys were like, let's do it. Sounds great.
I mean, yeah, I can say it again. I've said it a few times, but I can't speak to podcasting as a whole. And, other podcasters, they'll have people on with just people they've had good relationships with or their friends or people they agree with. But with the Full Sun podcast, hate it or love it, right or wrong, if we ever get the opportunity to have a controversial guest on, we're never going to turn it down. Because in my opinion...
This is bullshit. They didn't have a controversial guest on. They were fielded softball questions. They had a scripted interview that was facilitated by the government.
what we want to do with the full-time podcast on is we're not afraid to have controversial people on. We're going to ask them questions. Sure, we're probably not the best at asking questions. We're not the best journalists, never claimed to be, so we might not be the best at pressing them. But in my opinion, it's up to the viewer to form their own educated opinion. Like, we have someone controversial on, we ask them.
Off-putting, dropping the ball horrendously, and then off-putting the responsibility to your audience of idiot children to best interpret the results of you doing a state facilitated interview with a war criminal. Gotcha.
Questions. I think people give us a little too much credit when they say, "Oh, you're platforming."
This is like, it's 10 times worse than what I've talked about, but this is the conservative bro podcaster equivalent of when people like Jon Stewart or John Oliver say, well, I'm not a news reporter, you know, I'm just a comedian, right? It's like that, but like magnified way the up. Because in their case, you know, I think Jon Stewart and John Oliver have done good things. I just want them to own their political influence. In this case, these guys are doing Hitlerite shit, but then they're like, well, that's not, I'm a birthday boy. You can't criticize me.
Or like, I think, sure, we have a young audience, but they're not stupid, and we don't think they're stupid whatsoever. And I think this podcast is a perfect example of that. If you go and read the comments, just because we have someone on and we're sitting beside someone, people aren't gonna be like, oh my god, Nelk's with them, like, I love this person. Like, yeah, wait, that's just not the way it works.
I don't think anybody loves Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't even think American presidents like Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying though.
But and I don't think you can listen. I don't think you can platform the prime minister of Israel. That's not my argument. I don't really give a shit about that.
But
my question is, do you feel like there is a culpability that you have? Because like, look, Donald Trump is a contentious.
God, I've seen this question get asked and not answered so many times. I swear to God, I've seen this exact conversation play out so many times, and it's always the same way, right? You have a left-leaning person, some variant of left-leaning, and then you have like, haha, apolitical dudes who are cool to chill with and will like talk with you sometimes, but invariably they are completely unmoored from reality, have no priorities besides following orders and taking money, and will always side with whatever benefits them the most. They have no moral compass at all. So whenever you ask them, don't you feel a sense of responsibility to not, like, you know, do Hitler shit? Their answer will always be, well, no. It's not even like a question of, is there a reasonable allowance for people to make mistakes or have bad opinions? Because, yeah, of course. But this is so different, man. White House facilitated interview with a foreign head of state currently conducting a genocide. Like, it's difficult to imagine a worse thing to do. Like, in the context of bringing a guest on, can you guys think of a worse? Can you guys think of how to, like, add more modifiers to that to make it worse? Because that's, like, really high up there. State-backed, you didn't write the questions, pressure from the government to do it, active genocide being committed by the person you're interviewing, and pitching softball questions. So it's like, genuinely, like, you would have to, at that point, you would just have to, like, you'd have to escalate how bad the genocide is. You'd have to go to, like, you know, so, well, Hitler, you know, killed more people. Okay, sure, that would be worse. But at that point, we're I still feel like we're kind of in the same category a little bit. I mean, Hasan called him Hitler, you know.
Figure, and obviously he's responsible for a metric ton of pain and violence as well, but so is every other American president. That's one thing. But Benjamin Netanyahu is like unique in the sense that he's also a foreign leader. So I guess the question is, like, you know, because he's getting something out of this, right? He's getting something out of this where he gets to, I guess, like, try and humanize himself.
That's the thing, Hasan, is we'll have anyone on. Like, next episode, we're going to have someone on with the complete opposite idea.
Nick Fuentes.
Ideology that we've already been planning before this podcast came out.
Who are you guys having on?
I mean, I'd love to hear your suggestions. We have quite a different from different friends. You can DM us after if you don't want to say them live, but we're talking to a few different people and we want to choose the right person to kind of represent, you know, the opposite side.
Okay, but Benjamin Netanyahu isn't just like a podcaster, you know what I mean? Like, he's literally the prime minister that is a war criminal by the International Criminal Court. He's like literally branded as a war criminal. And it's unique because like the International Criminal Court is a European institution and they've never actually criticized an American or anyone who's an American ally in the past. So it's like he's killed so many children that even the International Criminal Court was like, damn, this guy sucks. Yeah, it's literally like interviewing Adolf Hitler.
I think if you watch it though too, I think yes. I mean, I think me and Steiny could have pressed him a little bit harder, but we did ask him, what is your response to when people say you're starving children in Gaza? Do you think October 7th could have been prevented? Are you trying to implement regime change in Iran? Like, Americans don't want another war with regime change. So
But they were scripted questions that he had prepared answers to. There was no actual grilling. There was no follow-up. Like, all you're doing at that point is preempting questions that Netanyahu wants to answer anyway in the most favorable light possible. Just asking the questions on its own does nothing, right? You need to actually like challenge the responses.
we definitely did ask him some questions that I think people wanted to know.
Okay, what did he say? I mean, of course, he said
For starving children in Gaza, he said that they bring the food in and Hamas steals it and then sells it.
That's a lie. You know what I mean? Like that's so.
Right.
So here's the thing.
What's your opinion? So, Son, you got to remember, one side's going to say one thing, and the other side's going to say it's a lie.
There's no such thing as objective truth after all. It's just like Hitler says that the world was, the World War I was lost because of internal sedition by the Jews, and other people say that it wasn't, and we just hear people's opinions, Again, like this is what I mean. I've seen this like asked and answered so many times. These people have no beliefs and no principles, right? But it's not like the way a fascist would have no beliefs, like a kind of deliberately exercised anti-empiricism or whatever. It's just they have no principles, right? If the wind blew in the correct direction, these people could be socialists. It doesn't matter. Their only allegiance is to their freedom to make money off the opportunities that are pitched their way. So talking to them, in my experience, is worthless. But in this case, their behavior was so egregious that it made their audience pretty angry. So in this case, I guess it's not really talking to them, right? Hasan's talking to the audience through them.
I don't think you guys having a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu is the interesting point of contention here, for me at least. Like I mean, I think it's in and of itself, it's like worthy of scrutiny, because it's like, you guys, it's like interviewing Adolf Hitler. Like, would you interview Adolf Hitler during the Holocaust if you had the opportunity? Probably not, right? And we had less information on.
You should have let them answer that, Hasan. You should have let them answer that.
Holocaust while it was happening than we do on this modern iteration of a genocide, because we get to see it in real time because we have the internet.
Okay, so wait, what's your response to what he answered us? You didn't even talk about that.
It's a lie. No human rights organization that works on the ground, from the UN to the World Food Program, has ever agreed to the Israeli position that this is all Hamas stealing aid or whatever. As a matter of fact, they've openly said that that is not the case at all. It's just a way for Israel to continue justifying its starvation policies against the entire civilian population of Gaza, so that they can claim that, like, oh, Hamas is just like stealing this aid. They've never actually given a single piece of evidence for this. It's just a claim that people have to supposedly take at face value because Israel said it. It's a lie.
And what's the other side's proof? Just
Jesus Christ, man. The funny thing is that like people like this probably rail against postmodernism without knowing what it is, but they would probably argue in favor of an objective truth. But they are the most like postmodern people in the world. They have absolutely no belief in empirical reality. Like these questions and answers are not being motivated by any interest in what is or isn't true. They're being motivated by like a desire to evade culpability. Notice how there's no curiosity on the part of either of these two to know what is correct, only to know that people disagree, therefore they can't be held responsible for not taking the correct side.
So we can play both sides here.
Well, the other side is not even like the side of the Palestinians. I'm not even offering the side of the Palestinians. The Palestinians obviously think that that's bullshit as well. But the other side is an unbiased third party. The World Food Program is not, on board with Hamas. The World Food Program or the UN is not Hamas or anti-Semitic or anti-Israel, beyond, the obvious reasons why you would be anti-Israel, because they're doing these things and then lying about it.
So what's your overall opinion of us? Like Kyle just stated, that we're having a world leader on. That's what we're more focused on.
I think it was dumb. I'll be honest, because like it's not.
But you would do the same thing, Hasan, if you had
defensive posturing, arms folded. Well, they were. Well, what are we supposed to do then? Not platform, or I guess host the lies of a genocidal authoritarian? Not let him lie nonstop? These people are so retarded. They are, yeah, but it's not even about that, right? It's about their just absolute contempt for truth. It's just self-serving. Bro said Hassan would do the same thing. Well, if Hassan got the opportunity to interview Netanyahu, I think he would take it. But that's what they're trying to flatten to. They're trying to turn it into, well, everyone has their opinion, and we were just talking to him, basically, as if it wasn't like a, you know, state-sponsored propaganda piece. Hassan would probably be a little bit more critical of Netanyahu if he had the chance to interview him, which is why I suspect that interview isn't happening. In fact, it's not a surprise to me that Netanyahu might be trying to push for more like American bro podcast interviews, because he has a really difficult time interviewing with anybody in Israel. Do you know why? Because people fucking despise him there. He's barely holding together his war cabinet coalition. He's been undergoing fraud trials for a million years. You know, the journalists there hate him for a wide variety of reasons. The people there hate him for a wide variety of reasons. He's his best chance at getting a friendly interview is going on right-leaning podcasts over here.
Opportunity, 100%.
No, I mean, there's a difference though. I'm well equipped to have a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, because when he says something like that, I can turn around and be like, well, the World Food Program has said that, you know, there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas is stealing aid, whereas you don't have that follow-up in that situation, and Benjamin Netanyahu knows that, and his team knows that, which is precisely why he went on the Nelk Boys podcast and he didn't go on, you know, my stream or something. And I don't even know if I would honestly have a conversation with him if given the opportunity.
In my opinion,
50-50.
I think that, like, for example, I think Trump is really good on the podcast. Like, obviously, that's why he did his whole talk. I mean, he's clearly a good speaker. Like, you can't deny that. But I think, in my opinion, just because we platform someone, it doesn't necessarily equate to like a positive outcome.
Jesus, man. It's the same. It's just the same thing every time. It's literally like a template. It's a point for point recreation of the same argument every single time, you know?
For the guests. And I think this is like a perfect example of that. Like, this could even be a negative thing.
No, I think in the grand scheme of things, like it's not moving the needle, because Benjamin Netanyahu gets positive coverage from every outlet. He gets positive coverage from every outlet. So you guys are marginal in that regard. It's not like all that significant. But if you're looking for if you're looking
That's what
for,
I'm trying to say though.
What do you
like
mean?
If Fox News has him on and they're more supportive of him than we have him on. CNN
yeah, no, that's why I'm saying it's marginal. Like you having him on is marginal, as opposed to like him going on Fox News, MSNBC.
Wait,
what you guys did is from my estimation, okay, what you guys did is no different than like what CNN does. Okay, you just basically presented someone who is a war.
That's good framing. Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out, like, the bullshit defense they're trying to use is that they're just good old boys who are like having convos and having fun. But what they were actually doing was like state facilitated propaganda work. You know, keeping your mouth shut and letting a political leader ramble on and say whatever the fuck they want because there's no like allowance for pushback in media. Functionally, yeah, it is no different from like what the hacks over at Corpo Media do.
Criminal, someone who is doing a genocide in a somewhat neutral light.
What's your go-to at McDonald's?
Huh?
No, I'll tell you, Burger King. We did the double,
Whopper?
The
I haven't ripped Burger King in a long time.
Burger King kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No,
the
you're wrong.
BK Lounge can hit.
I disagree completely.
You like Burger King over McDonald's?
That's your worst take, I think.
Absolutely.
That's a crazy take.
No, that was
Scripted question, by the way.
fine. I mean, I like Burger King. The answer is yes.
And you can't be neutral when you have someone like Benjamin Netanyahu directly in an opportunity to talk to him. But that's what happened. So there is moral culpability here for you guys individually.
Well, I think this is the way we roll. The way we roll with this is it's going to give us the opportunity to get the biggest people in the world. And I think you'll know by the Full Send podcast when you watch it. It's like, hey, we're going to watch these guys are going to get big guests. We might not necessarily get these guys grilling these people, and that's just what you're going to come to expect.
I know, but if you don't grill them, then all you're doing is like, you know, just like I said.
We're having them on.
Herbo interviewed is one of my finest moments, and now you ruined my day. What are you guys doing? Guys, can I get Aaron? I was hinting
That's
at
just
this
what we
when
do.
Adam must be frustrated for him to participate in this kind of engagement. I feel it's a little not dicey, I guess. What would you call it? Directly involved?
Listen. That's just what we do. So I think what we did is we had someone on right now.
he watched Aaron.
Let me finish.
Four podcasts
Adam. I think this is actually going to be a great thing. If everyone thinks we have such a big platform, would you guys agree or no, Hasan?
Yeah, you guys have.
Jesus Christ! It's literally just like self-serving ego tripping to these two. Like that's the takeaway they're getting from this.
You guys have a decently sized platform.
people wouldn't be pissed, right? If we didn't have a big platform. So if we have
No,
such
I
a
think
big
people
platform,
still, your fans would, depending on how they feel about it, they probably would be.
right. So right now we just had Netanyahu on. A bunch of people watched it. I think a lot of people saw through what he was saying. Now already on the same day, we've had 3 people on with complete opposite viewpoints: Hasan, Sneeko, Myron, Nick Fuentes. So
Okay. Don't loop me in with those guys.
Let me finish.
Don't put me in the same category as these guys.
Viewpoints of Netanyahu. Let me finish. So already we've had 4 people with opposite viewpoints on the very same day, and then the next episode of the Full Sun podcast, we're gonna have someone very, very reputable with the complete opposite viewpoint of Netanyahu. So I personally think, and listen, there's a lot. You guys gotta understand though. Hasan, there's a lot of people, I know, there's a lot of people like Hasan, though, that are educated on this issue. And there's a lot of people like myself who are really not. And I know there's a lot of people watching right now that are the same way as me, that just read shit and don't know what to believe. And if you read stuff and you really don't know what to believe, like I know, Hasan, that might be tough for you to understand because you're so educated on the topic. Yeah. But there is a lot of people that don't know what to believe.
I know. Not actually humility, by the way, but again, like a rejection of culpability. You do not need to be learned or well-educated to know that Israel's committing a genocide. And if you are you again, accepting a scripted, state-facilitated interview of a foreign leader, you are not, this is not like a, well, I'm just going in, you know, I don't really know anything, you know, like it's obviously morally wrong to let somebody launder a genocide on your platform out of ignorance. This was not, of course, out of ignorance. You knew what you were doing when you accepted the pitch.
Oh, but so that's why you're giving more reason as to why it's bad that you guys interviewed him.
No, we're not.
The Nelk Boys are just low IQing. They're not as malicious as you think. No. I'm telling you, okay? I'm not saying they're not low IQ, okay? I think that's pretty evident. I think it's demonstrable here. I'm saying that both are true. Like, there are lots of people who are low IQ, but are also shifty, unprincipled, don't care about anything but the bag, like kind of evil, like just allergic to taking responsibility. None of these things contrast with being low IQ, of course. But somebody who's authentically just low IQ would not accept a state like invitation to propagandize, would not do this like defensive high horse, well, you have your opinion and they have theirs. Those aren't just being stupid. Those are other things, right? That's avoiding moral culpability.
No, that's the problem, because
they're already listening to you. Hasan, a lot of people in our audience have honestly never heard of you, and I'm sure likewise they've never heard of us, and they dislike us. So we're putting you onto our audience now, and they're hearing your point of view. And then next week on the podcast, they're going to hear someone really reputable with the complete opposite view of Netanyahu. So I personally think right now we're going to bite the bullet, and I think we're going to take a lot of flack. But I think within a week or 2 weeks' time, we're actually going to be educating our entire audience and probably the entire internet on everyone's point of view.
You're doing crisis PR right now, and I can tell this is really stressful because everyone's mad at you. But please,
it's not,
you guys
bro.
Just do pranks. People like to see you guys partying. Why you guys keep
we'll still party, bro?
In the middle. You know, people can't leave Gaza.
Adam, we were in Central Pay for a few days after this.
Half the people that live there are children.
We were in
75%
agree with you.
And children. Why are you wading into that? People like you guys because they like to party. You hit zaps. You do happy dads. You guys are chill. I like to see Steve will do a chug. Just do it. Why are you touching that? Not everything.
I agree. You know what? Adam's right. We don't have to.
It is a brutal blood. It is blood. It is violent.
Adam, that's a problem.
Why are you guys?
I'm gonna tell you something.
If you're not qualified to touch it.
We're gonna drink. We're gonna hit zaps, and then we're also gonna interview world leaders.
But it's not just like, dude, you're not like interviewing.
It's avoiding moral culpability. Again, if a person was merely stupid, they wouldn't be investing this much effort into being defensive by repeating the same misinformation about the nature of the interview. Just, I don't like it when people try to use the stupid or malicious thing as like a mutually exclusive dichotomy, because it's just not. It's, unfortunately, there's a lot of overlap in these concepts.
The Prime Minister of Albania, okay? You're like, this is a guy, this is not...
Everywhere we went, they were killed. It sounds a lot like the Palestinians. Because
Adam,
they are
I'm gonna tell
people
you this.
that are dispossessed, and everywhere they go, they get killed. And if we
Adam,
can't
listen.
see ourselves in that, it's a shanda.
Adam, I'm going to tell you something really quick. I don't agree with Netanyahu. I disagree with a lot of things he's doing. I think he's acting.
With him.
It doesn't matter. I think in certain aspects he's acting the same way as Hamas is. We've talked to him about this.
No, there's no.
This is genuinely the maddest I've ever seen Adam. Yeah, it actually boosts my respect for him a lot that underneath the irony that is kind of central to his delivery in his career, there's like a beating heart of genuine sincerity. I respect that a lot in people. It's very, very important to me that like under the presentational like affect you've adopted, you have a red heart, basically.
See, this is what I mean. You're saying he's acting the same.
I'm just gonna
Hassan, you're disregarding the
proof
point.
myself back up. I don't care.
Adam, you're not listening.
There's no comparison between Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas. That's my point. The point is that Hamas.
You tried to compare them earlier.
No,
I agree with you.
Benjamin
They're
Netanyahu.
This we can hit up people like you, Hassan, and get what you would ask and stuff like that. But
No, Benjamin Netanyahu is never entering the same room as someone like myself. If I were to be in that room, he would not do this podcast with you, or
But wait,
maybe they would
Hassan, let me
assassinate
ask
me.
you something. Hassan, why wouldn't you do someone from both sides?
What do you mean?
I mean, we've already debated this. But
if you could do Netanyahu and do somebody else, why wouldn't you do that?
But, well,
see again. Sorry, I know I keep reaffirming the point, but like, there's no real like belief here. There's no like moral adherence to anything being good or bad, except for their right to do whatever the fuck they want without criticism. That's the only moral good in the universe. All right, wrap it up.
I don't think that there's both sides.
It's all just
go read
content.
the comments.
Yeah, but
also proof that just because we have someone on, it doesn't necessarily mean a W for the guest.
No,
Hassan,
I understand that.
Go ahead
There
and
are plenty of
respond.
people
But
that I
comments
disagree
today-
with that I communicate
comments are
with.
proof.
But there's a difference between there's an upper limit to it is my point, and that upper limit is like far past when it comes to someone like Benjamin Netanyahu. My limit is far before Benjamin Netanyahu. It's someone like Nicholas.
Yeah, I've seen these. I've seen these arguments. Oh well. I guess it ended with them saying Netanyahu's Hitler, so Netanyahu didn't really get what he wanted out of this interview on two fronts.
Having Netanyahu on is like having modern day Hitler.
No, I saw that.
Which is honestly, guys, I'll be honest. I'm here to. It's a good point.
Great stuff. They still don't believe anything, but you know they have. Yeah, as Adam said, they've done crisis PR. They have deflected. And they're shifting to match the expectations of their audience. Bullying worked? No, not really. I mean, it's just about like what's popular with their audience and what makes them the most money. Sheesh. It's bleak, man. It's bleak.